Good afternoon to all of you. I guess I am audible and properly visible to all of you. Can someone please confirm? Hello.
You're audible.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Manal. Thank you, Lara. Okay, so today's session is a very important session for us. We have as guest Mr. Vikas Jain, the co-founder at Play Design Labs, and also the co-founder of Micromax. I would also like to let you all know that Mr. Vikas Jain is an alumnus of Jamia Islamia. He has completed his engineering in mechanical engineering from Jamia Islamia from 1992 to 1996. So this is going to be a very great session. We'll start as soon as Sir arrives. So till the time, I would like to request you all to please be patient and wait for us to start the session. Thank you. Also, the title of the session is develop how to develop product and strategies for branding, which is obviously a very important thing as an entrepreneur for any one of us to learn. So I would request you all, if you know someone who is a budding entrepreneur or who you think would be benefited from the session, to please ask them and let them join the session, because the guest over which we have over here today for us, Mr. Vikasan, is a very experienced person in this sector, and he will tell us a lot of insights and will help each and everyone over here in the session to grow more. So I would also request you all, if you know someone who you think might be benefited from this session, to please ask them to join, because it's a very open opportunity for all of us and a very nice opportunity for all the people in this session today to learn from him. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys.
Okay, so
Good afternoon, Vikas.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so I think we can start with the session. Good afternoon, sir. Okay, so at the outset, I would like to introduce myself. I am Ayush Kumar, the President of Entrepreneurship at Jamia Islamia. Today, in this session, I would like to welcome all of you on behalf of Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Institutional Innovation Council, and Entrepreneurship Cell Jamia Islamia. Today's session is on how to develop product and strategies for branding. And the guest of the session is Mr. Vikas Jain, co-founder of Micromax, and also the co-founder of Play Labs. I would also like to tell you all that Sir is an alumnus from Jamia Islamia. He has completed his BSc Mechanical Engineering and he's from the 1996 batch. Sir has a vivid experience in this sector and is a very knowledgeable person. So welcome, sir, and the stage is all
Thank
yours.
you, Ayush. As Ayush just introduced, so for the benefit of everyone, I am Jamia Millia Islamia alumnus, 96 pass out, mechanical engineering. After that, till about 2000, end of 2000, I was professionally working with Daewoo Motors and General Electric transportation system in Pennsylvania. In 2000, end of 2000, we started Micromax as a company together. It's been 4 friends who came together at that time, and 3 of us were actually college friends, and the 4th one, slightly senior to us, about 9 years elder to us, was the next door neighbor of one of our friends and co-founder. So that's how the 4 of us came together way back in 2000. So 2000 to about 2005, we did a lot of software work. At that time, you would remember there was this Y2K problem. I do not know how many of you were at what age at that time, but there was this huge Y2K problem. So computer was always an interest area for the youth of India. So we initially worked around SAP, which is one of the enterprise resource planning software. We also worked on e-commerce, and finally, when we were working for embedded systems, right? So that's basically all your programming of chip and SoC and all of that. That's the time we got an opportunity to work with, at that time, Nokia, which was the #1 mobile company across the world. Made a device which converted wireless signal into a PCO. And this I'm talking about way back in 2005 and 2006. So at that time, the teledensity of India was, if I remember correctly, if my memory supports me, we had a teledensity of about 17, which meant out of 1,000 people, only 17 people have access to a telephone. It could be a mobile, it could be a landline or a PSTN telephone, but that's what our teledensity was. So PCO at that time, PCO is public call office, used to be a very hot property, and largely this was the domain area of both the state operators, stroke telcos. In Delhi and Mumbai, it used to be MTNL, and rest of India, it used to be BSNL. So there was these wired devices which would be put up, and a normal consumer could walk up to them and make the call to his friends, family members across the country as well as across the world. So we used M2M, a machine to machine, which is now called IoT, Internet of Things. We used a M2M modem to build about a device which used to be called fixed wireless terminal, FWT. And then you could attach a normal wired telephone with this machine, and in an area where you did not have telephony happening, you could start making telephone calls over the wireless network. Once we started doing that, slowly, steadily, we started building up a channel of partners across India. So we had our distributors who we would sell this device, and then they would eventually put it up at the retail and open up the PCO call offices. That also allowed us to have our warehouses across India, allowed us to hire manpower across India, allowed us to have a service setup across India. As we were doing that, obviously from the same domain, what happened is we got to see a lot of opportunity as well for the mobile phone. So in 2008, when we started mobile phone, I'll quickly give you, a brief about how we came into where we are. And then obviously we'll throw the dice open for question answers, anything that you guys would particularly like me to comment upon. So in 2008, the mobile phone market was very straightforward. It was driven into three categories: ULCH, ultra low cost handset. Typically, the price bracket would be about 1,500 to 2,000 rupees. What we have right now is a feature phone, button wala phone jo hota hai. And then used to be a mid-tier, so typically between 2,000 and 5,000 rupees, and then it used to be high or the premium category, which was 5,000 upwards. And this 2008, you guys need to appreciate, not many phones used to come with the touchscreen. I mean, just to give you a background about how old we are talking, at that time we had iPhone 2, which was the latest device from Apple. So I'm not sure how many of you could actually see an iPhone 2. I'm sure most of the people would probably have seen an iPhone 5 and an iPhone 12 and would be waiting for an iPhone 14, which should happen sometime soon. But that's how way back we are talking about. So we saw that literally the consumer was being forced into buying something which was available. So a consumer purchase happens in a two-way. In a controlled, restricted, unopened economy, a consumer buys from amongst the choices which are available. In an open economy, something which should be testimonial of the 1.4 billion population that we have in India, consumers should be able to choose, select, and buy his preference basis his requirements. So this, and again, going back to 2008, I can tell you at that time, we had huge power outages. I mean, in a city like Delhi, at times we would have close to about 17 hours of power cut. So if anybody would be, building a house, the first thing he or she would be thinking about would be putting up an inverter or a generator. So back at that time, every office used to have something called as a UPS, uninterrupted power supply. Maybe few of you guys would have been exposed to a UPS. Now, whenever I go to any offices and I visit my friends in the other companies as well, UPS is something that we don't find in most of the offices. That's also commendable because that's how the electricity generation and the reach of electricity to the consumer has happened. And but way back in 2008, when we used to have 17 hours, 18 hours of load shedding happening in a day, at that time we figured out we wanted to give consumer a choice of the device in terms of marrying their requirement to the device rather than trying to go in with a preset market categorization of ULCH, mid-level, and premium phones. So the first one we brought out, we did some re-engineering on the device, and we optimized the ideal screen current that the phone would use, used a slightly bigger battery pack, and we were able to achieve a mobile phone which used to give 30 days of battery backup. Now, this was in the standby state. However, even for the talk time that the consumer used to have at that time, used to run for about 10 odd days without having the need to recharge the phone. So suddenly consumer got something which was beyond the ULCH, the mid-tier, and the premium phone category. Because interestingly, when we were pricing the phone, so we thought, what should be the price of the phone? Because we practically did not have a competition for the phone model. So should the phone be priced 2,000 rupees? Should the phone be priced 3,000 rupees? Or should we be pricing it at 4,000 rupees? Those were the discussions we were having in our boardroom at that time. Now, you will see this is what happens when you innovate. So we cut out the competition with a single stroke of being innovative, with a single stroke of studying the consumer. Now, eventually, the price that we decided to put on the phone was not basis the bill of material of the electronics that we're using in the phone, but it was a function of us defining our TG, or the target group. So we defined who is our target group, who's the customer that we want to sell this phone to, mobile phone to, and what would be his paying capacity in terms of his likeliness. And basis, some research that we did amongst consumers, the phone was priced very well. And at that time, and this is again 2008, so the market was not as big as we have right now. We had thought if we end up with 5,000 units in a month, that will be an excellent start. And what I can tell you is we sold off those 5,000 units in flat 3 days. 3 days is what it took us to sell all of those 5,000 units, which we believed if we could sell over would be an excellent start. To give you a background, we all four of us come from non-business families. So everybody has been, a son of a government servant. So all the co-founders, their fathers were in one or the other government service. So we did not have access to huge capital. I mean, if my memory, puts me in the right frame, then I think we started the company with a capital of about 24 lakh rupees. So that was all we had with us when we started the company in way back 2000. And obviously from 2000 to 2008, because we were there into the business and all, there were some internal accruals, some profits that we generated over the 8 years. But that was where we were. So 5,000 phones seemed like a very good revenue, and we thought if it happens in a month, it will be great, and we sold it off in flat 3 days. Now, supply chain at that time was not as evolved as it is right now. So obviously, the repeat PO would take anything between 6 to 8 weeks. So rest of the time, we're just sitting hand on hand, thinking, "Acha, ab kya kare?" Anyway, the next when we were ordering for the next one, we thought we'll go a little adventurous, and from 5,000 we moved to 10,000 units. It was a very big adventure in our life at that point of time, and we thought, यार अब की बार कोशिश करेंगे ये 10,000 भी एक महीने में बिक जाए. Again the same story, because the material was coming after 6-8 weeks. The entire channel had sold off whatever they had picked up in the first go, and they were empty waiting. And everybody was making good margins on the phone. So the 10,000 sold off in 3 days. So, I mean, the intent of telling you all this is the fact that what does innovation bring to a very mundane category otherwise? Having said that, I think within 12 months of entering into the mobile phone category, and starting with as low as 5,000 units, within 12 months, we were selling about 300,000 units a month. Within 18 months, we were selling 1 million unit a month. By 2014, we were selling 3.5 million units a month. Right? Now, it all became interesting, and everybody was starting to enjoy. Micromax was one of the household names. Practically everybody knew Micromax as a company. People used to like us, people used to hate us, everything, but everybody had an opinion. So in a economy, in a population of 1.4 billion people, you might try everything. It is not possible that you will not have your critics. So we also had our own critics. We had people who used to kind of analyze each and every corporate decision of ours, and used to give a verdict, both good or bad. And that's how the world, used to move. So just to give you a background, that's what we've been doing in the country and in the sector. But always we have prided ourselves in terms of understanding the consumer and turning around something which is good for the consumer. And that's the first thought process that I want to bring to this table. What you need to understand when you do any products or services is that you need to marry your product, you need to marry your tech to the consumer. So the intent and the idea should not be to sell your technology, your service, or your product, but the core intent of any entrepreneur should be to marry whatever is your wherewithal in terms of service or product to the actual need of the consumer. And in a huge population of 1.4 billion people, if you're able to successfully do that, that's the foundation of your venture. If the seed of innovation runs deep for all you guys who want to get into entrepreneurship, that will always be your long-term asset. Commercially, you should always align your product pricing, not basis your procurement price, your bill of material or anything, but you should commercially align your pricing to the consumer requirement, consumer need, and also be mark to market. Now, I always believe that the gross margin for a company is actually not driven by the sales team, but it is actually driven by the procurement team. If you have a better sense and control of your input costs, you will be able to drive better gross margin percentages. However, If your belief is my cost is 100 and I want to work on a 20% margin, so 120 is what I'm going to sell it at, that era is gone. We are in a very open economy now, and this is just a book profit, or this is just an Excel profit. And more often than not, you will have to revise your price basis the market competition. So with that, I leave the field open for you guys to check on whatever you guys would like me to speak and talk about.
That was like a lot of information actually that you gave us. We have lots of questions, and just at this moment, I would like to take a moment also and to kind of inform you all also that we have in audience Professor Naseeb Ahmed, who is a very learned person in the field of entrepreneurship. Sachin Gaur sir, founder of Mix.org. So we can understand the stature of this lecture, what Vikas Jain sir is saying over here, that people are there from this field to come. People have come over here and just to listen to him, what he's going to solve. So I'd like to request all the audience to please go ahead, ask your questions. Sir is very there is a lot of knowledge behind that dream. So you can just go ahead and ask all your questions. I'm pretty sure he'll clear all their doubts. Sir, before our audience starts asking, I have a very important question for you. The moment, as I can recall, as I have been also born in 2000, so as I recall that the market was very competitive at that time in 2008 and 2009. So how did you what was your strategy and how did you kind of come up to counter out, especially Samsung and those brands who were at the top of the market at that moment in branding and all? How did you capture your target customer?
Thanks, Ayush. So as when I started my conversation with all you guys, I said we are a 1.4 billion population. Trust me, you could do anything in this world, right? You could be in any industry in this world. You will always find competition. So don't be afraid of competition. आपको ये समझना पड़ेगा 140 करोड़ की आबादी के अंदर आप अकेले समझदार नहीं हो सकते. तो अगर कोई आइडिया आपको आया है तो किसी और को भी आया होगा. बट जाहिर सी बात है, बिकॉज हमारी पॉपुलेशन इतनी बड़ी है, हम अगर परसेंटेजेस में देखें 140 करोड़ का 1% भी 1.4 करोड़ होता है. तो दिस पॉपुलेशन is our biggest strength when we talk about any consumer venture. सरकार को काफी तकलीफ होती है जब पॉपुलेशन बड़ी होती है, राइट? उनको उसी के हिसाब से डिफरेंट प्रोग्राम्स, डिफरेंट सब्सिडीज करनी पड़ती हैं. बट आई थिंक फॉर अ consumer economy business or a consumer centric business, that is the biggest strength that we have being in India. So competition will always be there, and you'll have to internally regroup and strategize in terms of how will you fight the competition. Now, depending on the money in your pocket, you could go super aggressive. We've seen a lot of companies initially are negative on the profits. However, they're deeply funded, so they end up buying their market share. We have enough and more examples. I'm sure you guys don't need me to tell you about any of them. There are companies who grow while being profitable. However, in such a big population, for you to be profitable and be growing, you need to think about the consumer in a different manner than most of the other incumbents are thinking. Also, for a startup, the best time to enter into the industry is the time when technology is changing. Because whenever the technology is changing or whenever the rules of the games are changing, that's the time jitni bhi badi companies hoti hain, all the incumbents, they start having a legacy. And startup comes without a legacy. I'll give you a case in point. हमारे यहाँ पहले टेलीविजन आते थे घरों के अंदर, बड़े बड़े मोटे मोटे टीवी होते थे, पीछे एक बहुत बड़ा सा उसका कवर होता था, राइट? पिक्चर ट्यूब वाले टीवी होते थे. अब फ्लैट पैनल टीवी आ गए. मतलब वो जितनी भी अगर आप कंज्यूमर एडवर्टीजमेंट्स वगैरह देखेंगे, वो इस तरह से होती हैं कि ये इसका thickness 8 mm है, इसका thickness 18 mm है. But in the previous times, I think the thickness, the width of the television used to be close to about 30-35 centimeters. मतलब एक foot ruler जो होता है उस जितना बड़ा thick होता था वो. So when we entered the television, we thought that to be our chance, and we entered when the biggies, there was a BPL, there used to be other companies also who were sufficiently big and large in the CTV, color TV business, and we entered directly on the flat panel. So these companies were trying to migrate their business from a CTV to the flat panel. It's not that उनके पास technology नहीं था, सिर्फ हमारे पास technology था, but वो थोड़ा ना अपना market share protect करके चलते हैं. So they thought they will pace the migration of the industry from a color TV to a flat panel TV. But being a startup, we immediately launched the flat panel. We went aggressive on the pricing. We were able to take market share from them. So for whenever there is a technology change, जैसे बहुत बड़ा अच्छा example है Tesla. So you had the Fords, you had the General Motors of the world, and comes in Tesla, and suddenly Tesla is the biggest or the hottest automobile manufacturer across the world. So जो IC engine है, this was the strength of the Toyotas of the world, the General Motors of the world, and the Ford Motors of the world. And comes Tesla, promotes EV, gets a good package in terms of the product, rolls it out innovatively, and it's a talk of the town, right? So all the IC engine companies, what they are trying to do is they are trying to retain their share, and वो सोच रहे हैं हर साल ओके 5% मार्केट को मूव कर देते ईवी के अंदर. अगले साल वो 5% को we will make it 10%. Third year we'll make probably 20%. But you have to appreciate that somebody who's a startup and is starting as an EV company, he does not have that predicament. He's going to go all out, and he actually can be the biggest spoiler to your dreams. So he could eventually turn out the industry much faster than what is being anticipated by the incumbents and the legacy players. So, I mean, genuinely speaking, Ayush, there is no single answer in terms of how do you, estimate your competition and how do you make your place amongst the competitive environment. But for sure, you will not get any opportunity or any space which is not going to be competitive. I mean, when Tesla launched it, it was not competitive, but now you see everybody's coming up with a EV four-wheeler automobile, right? So it's only a matter of time that the competition will catch up. If you are super innovative, you get the privilege of having 1, 2, 3 years of a non-competitive environment. But at that time, what is also equally credible is that you have to make the market also. So when you're being too innovative, then that market is not existing. अगर competition नहीं है, तो वो market भी नहीं होगा. तो अगर आप उस scenario में जा रहे हैं, तो आपको market भी बनाना पड़ेगा. So the rules of the game slightly change over there.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. And now we have 2 questions. First, I would like to take up the question of Sagufta Khan. Sachin Gaur, sir, I see your question, but I think you'll have to wait a minute and let Sagufta's question answered. So Sagufta's question is that how do we get ourselves out there? How to make our business known? Like how to ensure what we believe in is something that people would invest in. So I think she's generally asking that how do you make people believe in an idea and like request or like make them invest in your idea? So that is her actual question, Sagufta's question.
Okay, so I am a little old school into this domain of VC or private equity funding. So you might get a slightly different view from me vis-a-vis a lot which is happening in this particular domain. So my sincere advice to all the budding entrepreneurs on this platform is don't create a business thinking about valuation. create a business, visualize a business for the core authenticity of that business. तो बहुत बार हम लोग बिजनेस सोचते हैं और हम सोचते हैं यार ठीक है, 5 करोड़ 10 करोड़ 20 करोड़ रुपए हम बर्न कर देंगे, तब तक कोई इन्वेस्टर आ जाएगा, वो हमें 100 करोड़ 1000 करोड़ दे देगा, एंड देन वील मूव द कंपनी फ्रॉम हियर टू देयर. I'm not saying that's a wrong approach. I'm not being judgmental onto that. But the risk of such a venture is very, very high. I mean, you need a substantial stroke of luck for being able to find a VC or a private equity backing you at that time where you are burning a lot of cash. So your business would still need fundamentals. I mean, you could be burning cash because for forming up a business, and I completely believe and agree into that, for forming up a new business, it is very likely that you're burning cash or you are into a loss business for at least the initial 3-4 years. And that's also because for building anything long term, you will need to create the backbone of your venture, the backbone of your company. Now, it's very difficult for you to make those expense allocations and be able to generate a profitable revenue to be able to offset your costs. However, if you're planning your business well, then after these initial 3, 4, 5 years, you could start seeing profitability in the company. And if an entrepreneur is able to do that successfully, all I can tell you is these 4, 5 years, you're there in the industry, you're doing something good. You don't need to find a private equity or a VC, the VC finds you. See, आप समझिए, मेरे पास अगर पैसे हैं, मुझे तो इन्वेस्ट करने हैं, right? I will keep finding my target. Okay, where do I invest? So, एक प्राइवेट इक्विटी या एक वेंचर कैपिटल जो होता है, उसका बिजनेस होता है इन्वेस्टमेंट. So he's constantly on the lookout where he can invest, because he knows till the time he invests into a business, into a company, his likelihood of generating either profit or loss is not there. So any VC or P doesn't like to sit on stockpile of money, right? So if you're doing something good, you're doing something which is differentiated, there is a very big likelihood of a possible investor discovering you much before you can discover him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering that. So the next question which we have is from Mr. Sachin Gaur. So, sir, you want to ask this question or shall I go ahead and ask this question?
I'll take the opportunity to ask.
Okay, sir.
Hi, sir. Greetings.
Hi, Sachin. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. You are an inspiration to all of us. So thanks for making the time and, bringing more inspiration. So I have a couple of questions. You can choose to answer the ones that you like. So I was wondering, sir, because you are producing physical things, and these days producing things with bits is more popular than with atoms, and technology moves so fast. So it must be very challenging. I don't know if you could share a bit more. Building something with hands versus building software. Two different kind of businesses. So how do you deal with the shift? Sure. You will not be producing the same thing 5 years down the line or 3 years down the line, right?
So, as I said, Sachin, for me personally, I'm a very customer-centric person, and my organization will always be a customer-first company. What this means, besides some glorified titles, customer first, बड़ा अच्छा लगता है बोलने में. जब आप PR में पढ़ते हो, this is a customer first company, ऐसा लगता है यार बड़ी अच्छी सी कंपनी है. But what this typically means is, I let my consumer decide the technology जिसके ऊपर मुझे काम करना है. So we are no technology preachers. We are no technology innovators. What we do good is understand the needs of my consumer, understand the technology, and then use the technology to create what the consumer is looking for in terms of experience. So बहुत सिंपल सा एग्जांपल देता हूं आपको. अभी तक माइक्रोमैक्स में 5G फोन नहीं आया. प्रैक्टिकली सारी कंपनीज ने निकाल दिया 5G फोन, राइट? बट हमारा मानना है यार अभी नेटवर्क तो आया नहीं है 5G. आज अगर मैं 5G का फोन निकालता हूं तो मैं आपसे टेक्नोलॉजी के पैसे ले रहा हूं, एक्सपीरियंस के पैसे नहीं ले रहा हूं, बिकॉज यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू गेट द 5G एक्सपीरियंस राइट नाउ, राइट? अच्छा, to be very honest, today the whole country does not know when will 5G be available commercially. Abhi some people say August, some people say December, some people say yaar lagta hai is financial year mein to nahi hoga. So one school of thought can be yaar fair enough, 5G commercial nahi hua so kya hua, I am buying a phone, I want to buy a phone for future. I don't want to buy a phone right now और पता लगे यार 5 महीने बाद 5G आ गया तो मेरा फोन चल नहीं रहा है. One, it will not happen, the 4G is not working. So as an intelligent consumer, you need to see through the marketing campaigns of the companies. पहली बात तो जब 5G आएगा, रातों रात पूरे भारत में 5G नहीं आएगा, right? So it will take time, it will spread from tower to tower, it will spread from town to town, it will spread from village to village. So for you to get a seamless 5G experience, depending on the technology and all, sorry, I got distracted. There were some messages coming in. So depending on, how the technology moves up, the pace of 5G implementation could be shorter, could be longer. But in any case, for a pan-India 5G network, we are going to be at least 12 to 18 months away from the time the technology gets launched. हमें लगता है जो हमने ब्रांड बनाया है, in that brand, I really can't take a technology premium from the consumer. I can definitely take an experience का premium. For example, my ability to give you an AMOLED phone, AMOLED display वाला phone देके उसका प्राइस ऊपर हो, तो your relativity with Micromax is going to be far more higher. Then अगर Micromax एक 4G environment में 5G फोन लेके आता और कहता है यार ये 15,000 रुपए का है, then the consumer connect with Micromax for that phone would be lesser. And again, these are hypotheses. We have some 50 odd people on this podcast right now, and all 50 of you could believe that नहीं यार अगर आप 5G फोन लेके आओगे हम खरीद लेंगे, हमें पता है वो महंगा होता है. But then India is 1.4 billion, right? ये आंसर 1.4 बिलियन में मुझे इंटरपोलेट करना है. So I mean, Sachin, so this is basically an answer to your question in terms of how do we mitigate the risk of the technology. मैं टेक्नोलॉजी पे डिपेंडेंट ही नहीं हूँ.
नहीं सर, well said sir. I think it's a very interesting perspective. I never thought it from this point of view. सर मेरा एक और क्वेश्चन है सर. I will not take a lot of time because I know there are other people who want to ask you other important things. If you were to get out from the college in 2022, what would be your venture then? Or would you go join a job, or what would be the Vikas Jain coming out of 2022 from Jamia Millia Islamia?
Okay, so this is an interesting one. Again, I'm a little old school, right? So coming out of the college, I would not want to start an entrepreneurial venture right away, right immediately. Because I feel if I can get my book knowledge to be complemented with 2, 3, 4, 5 years of professional experience and professional learning in a good company, that makes a better Vikas Jain than a Vikas Jain coming out of the college, not knowing the nuances and the commercialization of the industry and the market, and wanting to start his entrepreneurial journey. Currently also, मैंने आपको बताया हमने 96 में पास आउट किया था और 2000 में हमने शुरू किया. And शुरू भी बहुत, we started from a very small scale. Genuinely speaking, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, and this is a very honest admission in front of all my, fellow students and staff members and teachers, मैंने भी नहीं सोचा था हम इतनी ऊपर तक चले जाएंगे. So there was a time when Micromax was amongst the top 50 advertisers of India. We were amongst the top 200 taxpayers of India. So, बहुत pride वाली situation होती है. And coming from a non-business family, तो मतलब, I remember once my father asked me, so my nickname is Vicky. So he asked me, Vicky, यार तुम सब कुछ सही तो कर रहे हो ना? कुछ गलत तो नहीं कर रहे हो? That was the lever of growth that we had. But having said that, see again, मैं आपको ना एक चीज जो बहुत important है, which I want to constantly preach any person who reach out to me for mentorship, is that you can have an excellent product, but you still might not be able to connect to the consumer. So rather than product or technology first, consumer first has to be the mission. मैं आपको एक बहुत practical example देता हूँ. Globally, all the governments, implement this income tax rule. Process क्या होता है? Thought process क्या होता है? कि, we are going to provide you a social security, medical infrastructure, a road network, blah, 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 blah. So you should contribute towards the development of the nation. So from a product per se, this is a great product. So assume किसी भी country का finance minister इंडिया कंपनी का CFO है. मतलब हम अपनी कंट्री को एक कंपनी बना लेते हैं और फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर को फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर का CFO बना लेते हैं. एक जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर है वो CEO हो गए, उन्होंने एक प्रोडक्ट बनाया which is the income tax, right? So the product is great. Finance minister जो कि अब CFO, he says okay fine, 1.4 billion population, okay, in the year 1 we should have a 10% market share, and year 2 we will go into 15%. But हिंदुस्तान 1947 में आजाद हुआ था और हमारे यहाँ पे डिमोनेटाइजेशन हुई थी मेरे ख्याल से, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, 2016 में. तब तक सिर्फ 1% लोग इंडिया में इनकम टैक्स देते थे, राइट? सो one more practical case of a great product but not interesting for the consumer. डिमोनेटाइजेशन हुआ, बहुत लोगों के पास कैश वगैरह पड़ा होता था, वो कैश का सडनली कुछ लॉजिक नहीं समझ में आया, वो किसी ने कुछ किया किसी ने कुछ किया, बट कुछ भी करके वो कैश ना बैंक में कन्वर्ट हो गया. अब वो सही तरीके से हुआ गलत तरीके से हुआ, वो वी आर नॉट गेटिंग इनटू दैट. अब जब वो कैश बैंक में कन्वर्ट हो गया, नाउ नोबडी वांट्स टू अगेन कन्वर्ट इट बैक टू कैश. तो सडनली वो कैश इकोनॉमी में आ गया. सडनली 2 साल में, जो 1947 से लेके 2016 तक नहीं हुआ था, 1% था, सडनली अगले 2 साल में हमारे यहाँ टैक्स पेयर 2.4% हो गए. तो प्रोडक्ट को इनोवेट किया गया. शायद डिमोनेटाइजेशन वाज अ इनोवेशन स्ट्रेटजी ऑफ द कंपनी. बट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज you have to constantly think about the consumer and how your product or how your service will get infectious amongst the consumer. Creation of a great product or a great service is not the only testimony of the success of a company or a success of a venture. I mean, it's a great start. It's a great thought. And any marquee company would always have a product or a service which is great. But alongside that, there are additionals also which are required. That's the only thing I want to leave this group with.
Okay, thank you for answering, sir. So the next question which we have is from Mr. Junaid Iqbal, and his question is that it's like it was one of the questions which maximum people face nowadays. The problem which maximum people face nowadays, that he is a non-technical person. He has an idea. So how can he find a techno co-founder? Like how? Like I would like to add something to it. I request to like answer it as a current student in Jamia Islamia. You have this idea. You are actually from a technical background, but suppose if you are from a non-technical background and you want to find a technical founder, so how would you have done it?
सर आप म्यूट पे हैं.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry.
Interesting question. So I think whoever is asked is actually showcasing his or her pain in terms of not having a technical co-founder or a technical shoulder along with him or her. So interesting है, मैंने कभी सोचा नहीं. I've been blessed with a great co-founder who's technology wise amazingly great. So but see, एक और चीज है. So in this fast-paced world in a very well-marketed economy, कई बार ना हम टेक्नोलॉजी को एक myth, एक larger than life image दे देते हैं. Lot of time technology is best understood with common sense. So even if you're not able to get a co-founder who's technologically great or technologically excellent, you can still find a good working resource, a working professional who could join your setup. Depending on the years of your venture being live, the proficiency of such a guy who's joining you could be very high or could be, average or medium. But you cannot get inundated or you cannot get demoralized by that, because what will also happen is over a period of time, as your company, as your venture grows, your ability to find better resources to complement his or her work is also very, very high. Secondly, when you're thinking about starting your venture, when you're thinking about entrepreneurship, you have to always access yourself. You should know what is your strength. You should know what is your weakness. एक टिपिकल, हम जब इंजीनियरिंग में थे, हमारे को एक बहुत अच्छी चीज समझाई जाती थी, SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, threat. I do not know how many of you relate with it, but that SWOT analysis is very, very important, because when it's an honest analysis, you also get to know what exactly is an area where I can tend to spend a little lesser time, and which is the area where I need to really work hard to take away my weakness of that area. So like the person over here, whoever asked about the technical co-founder not being available to his or her venture, now this becomes your weakness. So you will have to work much more harder to overcome your weakness. Now that could be about finding a like-minded partner who could join you as a co-founder, or it could be finding a great professional who could again be a part of your venture. That's what I can think about as we talk.
Okay, thank you, sir. I would like to add something to sir's answer, that as this is a networking problem, that we have to network obviously with the people who are in technical background, and which we faced, like all of Jamias, which we faced in this COVID times, in this pandemic time, because the campus was closed. We are not going to campus. We are not networking so much. So what has happened that how like someone from Jamia has like found a solution to that. There is a person over here in the audience we have, and his name is Muhammad Umar Raza. So he's developing a platform actually for all of the Jamians to connect, like the people who have passed out in 1996 to the people who are currently passing out in 2021. They all can connect together on this platform, and thereafter kind of have conversations. If you have some job opportunities, you can list it out. You want to find a co-founder, CTO, CFO, you can put it all over there, and everyone can connect. So like this is actually very good that he has taken up this problem as a challenge and now is going in the direction to find a solution for it. So that was just I wanted to mention. So moving on to the next question, which we have from Muhammad Nazir Ahmed. His question is that, is the market today too much unpredictable? And what are the business trends regarding consumer demands?
So no, I don't think so. Market is unpredictable, but yes, as an entrepreneur, you need to do deeper insights. See, as the world gets connected, again, I will keep shunting between the timelines. 2008, internet हमारे यहाँ KBPS वाला होता था. अभी हम लोग GBPS की बात करते हैं. अब KBPS में definitely your connectivity across the world was less. In GBPS, suddenly you're so connected. आप सारे लोग मेरे ख्याल Instagram या Facebook या minimum WhatsApp पे जरूर होंगे. So your ability to know what's happening around the world is far more higher. So I don't think it is unpredictable, but yes, when everybody has access to all the information, how each one of you assimilates that information and understands the ground level status defines whether unpredictability hai ya nahi hai. So, let me again try and think of an example. I mean, something not selling, right? One analysis of this is, nahi yaar, ye na requirement nahi hai. Another analysis of this is, okay, fine, it's not selling like this, but maybe it requires this tweak, basis which the same product will start selling. That tweak could be addition of technology or correction of a price, right? So unpredictability, I would not say is there, but deeper understanding of the consumer, deeper understanding of the industry, deeper understanding of the global macroeconomics is very, very essential. I mean, you should know how the global economy is moving, how the cost pressures are increasing or decreasing, which allows you to forecast your business also that much better. We all have to live with the fact that consumer today is very, very evolved. जब हम लोग कॉलेज में होते थे तो मुझे याद है हमारी पीछे उसका मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग की लैब होती थी और वहां पे ना एक आईसी इंजन पड़ा होता था. जब मैंने फर्स्ट टाइम वो आईसी इंजन देखा था तो मुझे ऐसा लगा मैं तो मतलब ये तो यार अमेजिंग ही चीज है. ऐसा भी होता है. आज की डेट में आप सब लोगों ने आईसी इंजन मेरे ख्याल से स्कूल में ही देख लिया होगा. तो the evolution of consumer is fast happening than what it was earlier.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the next question which we have is from Mr. Muhammad Umar Raza. So I guess Umar bhai, you can yourself come ahead and ask this question.
Hello sir, good evening. My name is Umar and my question is, if we are creating some product and like in India there is a service-based industry and a product-based industry, and now the trend is changing from service to from service industry that what people are innovating. So my question is, how to do market research before launching a product? Like in service industry, if you are creating some software, so like in making the product, the cost is also more. So how to know our peoples, how to do the market research, and what are the best channels to do?
Raza, your voice was slightly on the echo. Ayush, were you able to understand the question?
Yes, sir. His question is that what are the best channels to do market research and how to do the market research with less cost? like with recurring
Okay.
recurring less costs.
Raza, so genuinely speaking, in today's environment, ये तो बिल्कुल भी चैलेंज नहीं है. आपके पास कितने सारे प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, यू कैन रन पोल on a Instagram, right? Today in the Instagram or today on any of the social platforms, doing a market research or doing a poll to really understand the consumer opinion becomes that much more easy. Also, we are blessed with a great institution and a great university. आप देखिए हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर ही कितना बड़ा टाइम है. मतलब आपको 6-7 हज़ार रेस्पोंडेंट तो यूनिवर्सिटी में ही मिल जाएंगे.
तो सर मैं बेसिकली ऐसा होता है ना कि लाइक कितने लोग जेन्युइनली वो आंसर कर रहे हैं, लाइक अगर हम रिव्यूज भी पढ़ते हैं अमेजोन पे तो कुछ तो फेक होते हैं, कुछ ओरिजिनल होते हैं, तो हाउ टू एलिमिनेट दैट फॉल्स नेगेटिव?
सो देखिए, आपको आपके सब्जेक्ट के साथ रिलेटिविटी होनी बहुत जरूरी है. मैं अज्यूम कर रहा हूँ इफ यू आर वांटिंग टू लॉन्च अ वेंचर, तो आपने अपना भी कुछ स्टडी किया हुआ है इन टर्म्स ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग द इंडस्ट्री एंड ऑल. So a lot of times when you read the reviews or when you know analyze the feedback of the poll campaign or कोई भी आपने market research किया है, you'll be able to understand if where is the trend going at. So आपको कभी भी एक ही आंसर नहीं मिलेगा amongst your entire teaching, but आपको एक व्यू पॉइंट मिलता है in terms of what would be light and what would not be light. And further to that, देखिए अगर सिर्फ एक पोल करने से या एक कंज्यूमर सर्वे करने से बिजनेस बन सकता होता तो एवरीबडी वुड बी एबल टू डू इट. फिर तो फर्क ही नहीं पड़ेगा ना. कोई भी जिसके पास भी मनी है, ही शुड कीप ग्रोइंग हिज मनी, बिकॉज वो एक बहुत अच्छा पोल कर सकते हैं या बहुत अच्छा एक सर्वे कर सकते हैं और उनको समझ में आ जाएगा और वो आगे बढ़ जाएंगे. तो उस डेटा को आप कैसे एनालाइज करते हैं और उस डेटा को आप कैसे जेन्युइनिटी और फेक के अंदर डिवाइड करते हैं, दैट विल टेल यू वेदर द वेंचर यू आर पुटिंग अप इज गोइंग टू सक्सीड और नॉट. मैं आपको एक बहुत छोटा सा एग्जांपल बताता हूं. हमने जुलाई 2020 में एक प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च किया, तो Amazon के ऊपर भी लिस्टेड था. तो एक और चैलेंज भी होता है. सो फेक रिव्यूज और गुड रिव्यूज, तो क्या होता है, आप वो रिव्यूज देख रहे हैं जो ब्रांड ने पैसे देके अच्छे वाले डलवा दिए अदरवाइज, बट जो प्रोडक्ट जुलाई 2020 में लॉन्च हुआ, एक कंज्यूमर ने फीडबैक दिया, हाँ मैंने पिछले साल नवंबर में प्रोडक्ट खरीदा था, अच्छा नहीं है. तो अब इस रिव्यू का मैं क्या मेकआउट करूं? नवंबर 2019 में तो प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च ही नहीं हुआ था, जनाब ने खरीद भी लिया था और वो कह रहे हैं अच्छा भी नहीं है. अब इस रिव्यू को मैंने यही एनालाइज किया, मैंने कहा कंपटीशन होगा, यू नो दे वांट टू ब्रिंग द ब्रांड टू अ डिसरिप्यूट, सो हेंस दे आर सेइंग. बट जाहिर सी बात है, जब मैंने प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च ही नहीं किया था तो ये रिव्यू तो पक्का फेक है.
राइट, थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you for answering, sir. The next question is from Mr. Rian, and his question is like, how to move from 0 to 1, like that Peter Thiel question. Okay, and how did Micromax do it? Like, how did Micromax vertically grow, not horizontally?
So I have one more question on the message group. This is Ronak Haider. Sir, my question to you is that how did the Chinese companies like Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo capture the market? Was it only because of low price segment phone that they were focusing, technological brilliance or good marketing strategy? So which one do you want me to take up first? I will take that first and I'll, you know, reply back to the second one after that.
Take this one only first and then we can go ahead to the question.
So Ronak, this is very interesting and this is something that all of us should know, right? So 2016 is when Reliance Jio launched. 2015, rather than 2015, I should say 2016 March, जब हमने end किया था, 15-16 financial year, that was one of our biggest financial year revenue, I think, as a company, we did some 11,000 odd crore of revenue and huge, bottom line and everything. Then all the Indian companies put together. So there was a Micromax, there was another company called Lava, एक Intex Technologies करके होती थी, और एक और कंपनी थी by the name of Carbon. So I think between these 4 companies, हमारे पास roughly about 48% market share था, right? So Micromax obviously had a market share of close to about 24-25% at that time, if I remember correctly. And then balance 24 जो था वो बाकी 3 companies के पास था, but put together 48% market share was for Indian companies. Now, if that was the case, then how did the Chinese company come and pull the carpet from under our feet? बहुत interesting question है, and मैं आप सब लोगों को बिल्कुल genuine इस पे आंसर दूंगा, because I want to guide you towards not repeating any mistake that I might have done in my past. हमारे साथ तकलीफ क्या हुई? I think July or August of 2016 is when Reliance Jio launched their operations. So उससे ना करीब 1-1.5 साल पहले से हम हर क्वार्टर में सुनते थे जियो लॉन्च होने वाला है, और सबको पता है रिलायंस अगर कुछ चीज लॉन्च करेगा तो वो हल्के में तो करेगा नहीं, वो खूब इम्पैक्ट के साथ लॉन्च करेगा. तो हम हर क्वार्टर में ना थोड़ा सा डर जाते थे, यार ये करेंगे, क्या करने वाले हैं, वी शुड अंडरस्टैंड. खूब थिंक टैंक मीटिंग्स होती थी, रिलायंस आएगा तो 4G अभी ऐसे मूव कर रहा है, फिर ऐसे मूव करेगा, नहीं, बट एयरटेल इज द लार्जेस्ट ऑपरेटर, तो इट्स नॉट दैट एयरटेल विल बी अ सिटिंग डक, दिस इज हाउ एयरटेल विल ट्राई एंड रेजिस्ट मूवमेंट एंड वो सारा अगेन वो स्वॉट एनालिसिस होता रहता था. बट वो हर क्वार्टर में होता था, हर क्वार्टर में रिलायंस लॉन्च नहीं करता था. तो जब ये अगस्त 16 में भी इन्होंने लॉन्च किया, उससे पहले भी ऐसे ही था कि नहीं यार लॉन्च हो रहा है. हमने कहा यार ठीक है यार लॉन्च हो रहा है. अभी क्या है, 5% ऑफ द मार्केट इज 4G एंड 95% ऑफ द मार्केट इज 3G. हमने अगेन जैसे अभी मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले आप लोगों से बात करी थी ना, तो मैंने बताया था कि कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी जब नई लॉन्च होती है उसके बाद उसको नेशनल फुटप्रिंट आने में साल 18 महीने लग जाते हैं. तो हमने कहा ठीक है, ये जो धीरे धीरे ग्रोथ हो रही है और ये जो 5% 4G है, ये 15% 4G बन जाएगा 1 साल बाद, बिकॉज इट इज रिलायंस, सो दे आर गोइंग टू कम विद लॉट ऑफ एनर्जी, लॉट ऑफ मनी, एंड वो सब काम जल्दी करेंगे. तो ये 5 की जगह 10 ना होके 5 की जगह 15 हो जाएगा, विच इज ऑल्सो बिग, राइट? वी हैव अ टेलीडेंसिटी ऑफ 90% प्लस नाउ. सो अगर ये 5 की जगह 10 ना होके 5 की जगह 15 हो जाएगा, so that's a 200% growth. So that's when you think it's very very aggressive. तो हमने कहा ठीक है 85% तो फिर भी 3G रहेगा. तो हम क्या करते हैं, अगर हमारे पास 20 फोन होते हैं तो हम क्या करते हैं, 2 फोन 4G के निकालेंगे और 18 फोन 3G के निकालेंगे. तो हमारा रोड मैप डिसाइड हुआ कि यार ठीक है 4G भी होगा, जब होगा तो उतने कस्टमर्स को हम 4G दे पाएंगे, और बाकी जहां कस्टमर्स हैं उनके पास बिकॉज नेटवर्क 3G होगा तो 3G देंगे सिर्फ. गुड, ग्रेट. अच्छा, इसमें हमारा एक और प्रेमाइस था. वी थॉट दैट बिकॉज इट इज रिलायंस एंड बिकॉज दे आर कमिंग एज द स्टार्टअप into the ecosystem led by incumbents like Vodafone and Airtel, so what Reliance will do is they will make 4G का data price to be same as 3G, ताकि customers 3G से 4G पे move करें. हमने कहा यार ठीक है, वो they have big balance sheet, थोड़ा बहुत time loss ले लेंगे, once customer acquisition हो जाएगी तो 3G नीचे आ जाएगा, 4G का प्राइस ऊपर चला जाएगा. ठीक है, मतलब कोई भी समझदार CFO होता है तो इसी तरीके की प्लानिंग करते हैं. हमारे CFO साहब ने भी बोला हाँ यार दिस लुक्स वेरी प्लॉजिबल, ऐसे ही होना चाहिए. He says though I don't agree that they will be able to make 4G का प्राइस equal to 3G, but हाँ मतलब this is as aggressive as it can get. तो हमने कहा ठीक है, ये 5% ये 15% हो जाएगा, suddenly it will become very attractive. तो जो हाई आरपू कस्टमर्स हैं वो तो बड़ी जल्दी मूव कर जाएंगे, बिकॉज जो आईफोन 1.5 लाख का ले रहा है वो फिर वो कहेगा यार मुझे चाहिए भी 4G की स्पीड. तो दिस इज द premise on which we made our roadmap. We started our product innovations and all. and all the Indian companies were of similar mindset. Now, when you have 48% of the market, so us time pe the market was close to about, if I'm not wrong, I think करीब 18 लाख नहीं सॉरी 1.8 करोड़ मोबाइल फोन बिकते थे महीने के, right? That means approximately 90 lakh was with all of us. तो अब 90 लाख फोन हो गए 3G के, और बाकी भी जो फोन थे वो उसके अंदर भी क्या होता था, बहुत सारे और ब्रांड्स थे जो छोटे छोटे साइज के थे. मतलब कोई ब्रांड लोकली लेट्स से राजस्थान में ही है सिर्फ, तो हो सकता है उसके नंबर 2 लाख हो, 3 लाख हो या समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो व्हाट हैपेंड वाज, जब रिलायंस लॉन्च हुआ, रिलायंस ने बोला यार अगर आप 3G पे हो तो आपको पैसे देने, अगर 4G पे आओगे ना पैसे ही नहीं देने. नाउ दिस वाज एग्रेसिव, दिस वाज डिसरप्टिव. Whenever there is any disruptive innovation, no company in the world is ready for that innovation, and that is why it is called disruptive. Disruptive का मीनिंग ही ये होता है. तो ये किसी ने नहीं सोचा था कि वो रातों रात फ्री हो जाएगा. अब कस्टमर तो कस्टमर है, कस्टमर ने बोला अच्छा यार मेरा ना 600 रुपए का बिल आता है महीने का, तो रिलायंस कह रहा है 6 महीने तक बिल नहीं लेगा, तो ये 600 रुपए इंटू 6 महीने, मेरे तो 3600 रुपए बच गए. तो भैया मुझे तो 4G फोन चाहिए, सर्विस होनी हो बाद में देख लेंगे, मुझे फोन 4G चाहिए, 3600 रुपए बचेंगे मेरे तो वो जो डिमांड, जो 95% डिमांड 3G की थी, 2 महीने में वो 80% डिमांड 4G की हो गई. Now this is what a disruption does. Now because all the Indian brands were having the volume share, तो जो इन्वेंट्री मेरे पास थी एज अ ब्रांड, मेरे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर या रिटेल पार्टनर्स के पास थी, और दूसरा जो मेरी बैकएंड में फैक्ट्रीज के पास थी, वो सारी इन्वेंट्री, लार्ज पार्ट ऑफ दैट इन्वेंट्री और 90% ऑफ दैट इन्वेंट्री वाज 3G phones. And all the China companies, and you can go back in the history to see, all the Chinese companies did not have 3G phone because 3G as a technology did not get launched in China. तो उनके पास 4G ही था. तो सडनली मार्केट में मेरा मटेरियल पड़ा है और मार्केट को चाहिए नहीं, या कस्टमर को चाहिए नहीं, और जो कस्टमर को चाहिए वो मेरे पास है नहीं. एंटर द चाइनीज कंपनीज, उनके पास 4G है और वो रिटेल में पेनिट्रेटेड नहीं है, बिकॉज तब तक तो हमने फोर्ट संभाल के रखा हुआ था, हम घुसने ही नहीं देते थे उनको. वो वहां पे ना वो हमारा गार्ड लेट लूज हो गया, and they entered by hordes and mounts. Now आप सब लोगों का क्वेश्चन हो सकता है सर ठीक है आपके पास उस टाइम नहीं थे, बट इमीडिएटली आप अपने निकाल देते 4G फोन, तो हो सकता है 2-3 महीने के लिए उन्हें एडवांटेज मिलता, उसके बाद नहीं मिलता. बट सी यू गॉट टू अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग, जब 95% मार्केट जो थी वो 3G थी, राइट? एक टिपिकली एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए ना कम से कम 3 महीने की इन्वेंट्री होती है. देखिए 15-20 दिन की इन्वेंट्री होती है आपकी मार्केट में, 15-20 दिन की इन्वेंट्री होती है ब्रांड के पास, करीब 15-20 की इन्वेंट्री होती है डिफरेंट ट्रांजिट लोकेशन में, और 1 महीने की इन्वेंट्री होती है फैक्ट्री के अंदर. बिकॉज ऐसा नहीं है ना मैंने आज बोला मुझे आज फोन चाहिए आज बन जाएगा, उसके पार्ट्स ऑर्डर होते हैं, फिर वो बनते हैं, फिर उसके बाद मटेरियल शिप होता है. तो ब्रॉडली a very efficient supply chain system is where you are able to manage your inventory within 90 days of exposure. Now you got to understand 95% 3G जो था उसके हिसाब से मेरे पास 3 महीने की इन्वेंट्री थी. जब वो 90% का फलक्रम ही 20% हो गया, तो जो मेरी 3 महीने की इन्वेंट्री थी वो 12 महीने की होगी ऑटोमेटिकली, क्योंकि 3 month was indexed on 95% market being 3G. So when the market became 20%, so वो absolute number भी कम हो गया. तो वो जो मेरी 3 महीने की इन्वेंट्री थी वो मार्केट साइज के हिसाब से सडनली 12 महीने की बन गई. As I said, not coming from business background, first time entrepreneurs and all, limited capital थी. तो अभी वो 12 महीने की इन्वेंट्री के अंदर इतना पैसा लोड हो गया, तो we had to actually think about कि ये इन्वेंट्री को कैसे लिक्विडेट करें, इस इन्वेंट्री को कैसे कॉस्ट डाउन करके कंज्यूमर को अट्रैक्टिव प्राइसिंग पे कर दो, गैप बना दो 4G हैंडसेट और 3G हैंडसेट में इतना कि 3G अल्टीमेटली कस्टमर ले ले. But it became a push product from a pull product. So it impacted all the Indian companies for about close to about a year and a half. And that 12 to 18 month period became huge for the Chinese companies because suddenly they became the love of consumer. They became the love of channel partner. So that provided them that opportunity to seep in and get in. And since then, it's been a climb back for all the Indian companies. कुछ कंपनीज ने हथियार डाल दिए, उन्होंने कहा नहीं कर पाएंगे. कुछ जैसे हम लोग हैं, we are trying to fight and we continue to believe because it's a 1.4 billion population, it's a matter of time. I also need some opportunity to sneak in and that opportunity will come.
Sure, sir. Sure, that opportunity will come and we will again sneak in. Okay, so but the opportunity for our people to ask questions is there, and they are like constantly asking questions.
Second question आपका क्या था? आप कुछ एक और question पूछ रहे थे.
हाँ. The question was that how to move from 0 to 1 and how Micromax actually did it, like that vertical growth.
So
plus I would also like to ask you something. We have been like constantly talking about Micromax, but sir is also the co-founder of Play Design Labs. So how is Play Design Labs like planning to grow vertically? Please add that also in that answer.
So see, again, for an entrepreneur, every day is a learning, right? So when every day is a learning, you are permitted to make mistakes. You can make n number of mistakes, but as an entrepreneur, you cannot make the same mistake twice. अगर आप सेम गलती को 2 बार करते हैं तो फिर आपको कोई हक नहीं बनता कि एक 140 करोड़ की आबादी वाले देश के अंदर आप एंटरप्रेन्योर हो और दूसरा नहीं हो. तो when I started Play Design Lab, the intent was very, very clear that we need to have hardcore engineering with us. So product design has to be the strength. And as in my entire narrative over last 1 hour, I have told, product has to be the strength. Technology has to be my weapon. And marrying of technology with what consumer wants has to be the whole emotion and vision of the brand. तो हम सारी जो कंज्यूमर कंपनीज होती है ना, बड़े बड़े जार्गन्स बनाते हैं, टेक्नोलॉजी में एक बड़ा सा नाम बना देंगे और कंज्यूमर को उसके अराउंड फैसिनेट करना चाहेंगे. So at Play, our mandate is very simple, that we are not selling technology, we are selling experience. अभी मैं आपको ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ Bluetooth 5 है या Bluetooth 5.1 है या Bluetooth 5.2 है. But what I'm going to give you is Bluetooth 5 में the experience was here, then Bluetooth 5.2 में the experience is going to be here. And I'm going to tell you how technology is going to help improvise your experience. I'm not going to fascinate you. नहीं उसका product तो Bluetooth 5 का है, मेरा 5.2 का है. That marketing is a very China style marketing. वो China वाले पता है क्या करते हैं typically, and again I'm sorry for sounding biased, but because they are a center of production. I mean, I can tell you guys, I've been to China n number of times. उस कंट्री के अंदर प्रोडक्शन ना उनके डीएनए में भरा हुआ है. जैसे हम कहते हैं ना, हमारी कंट्री के अंदर इनोवेशन, डिफरेंट थिंकिंग, हार्ड वर्किंग, वो हमारे सबके डीएनए में भरा हुआ है. उस कंट्री के अंदर प्रोडक्शन डीएनए में भरा हुआ है. प्रोडक्शन के लिए वो लोग जो भी कुछ कर सकते हैं, हम उससे कम से कम 5 से 10 साल पीछे हैं. आएंगे, we'll also grow there, but currently that's the status. So उनके लिए ना टेक्नोलॉजी, प्रोडक्ट सब कुछ कमोडिटी है, तो वो हर चीज को एक वेइंग बैलेंस ले लेते हैं. और वो टिपिकल होता है ना, अच्छा जी यहाँ पे 100 ग्राम का वेट मैंने रख दिया, अच्छा जी यहाँ पे आपको 4 GB रैम मिल जाएगी, ये 100 ग्राम को और 100 ग्राम से जोड़ दिया, अच्छा जी आपको 50 मेगापिक्सल का कैमरा भी मिल जाएगा. So for them it's a commodity like that. So how will they upsell the next product? अब because they have to make so many products, वो mark to market स्नाइपर वाला एटीट्यूड नहीं है कि यार ओके फाइन कस्टमर को ये चाहिए, नहीं 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 नहीं, मशीन गन ली हुई है और टक 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 यू नो फायरिंग हो रही है, इतने सारे लोग हैं, इतने तो मर जाएंगे, इतने सारे कस्टमर हैं, इतने तो हम अक्वायर कर लेंगे। तो वो टिपिकली यही करते हैं, ब्लूटूथ 5, ब्लूटूथ 5.1, 4G, 4.5G, 5G. So when I'm speaking all this, tomorrow you can go back to your internet sessions and try and relate to what I'm giving you over here. I'm sure I will make sense to you guys on that. So ये 0 to 1 वाला जो स्टोरी है ना यार, दिस इज द होल जेनेसिस ऑफ योर कंपनी। देखिए अगर आपको एक रेस में भेजा जा रहा है, राइट, कुड बी अ मैराथन, कुड बी अ स्प्रिंट, बट अगर आप ये बोल रहे हो कि यार हाउ डू आई स्टार्ट ऑफ द ब्लॉक्स, तो फिर फंडामेंटली डिस्कनेक्ट है कहीं पे। आप ये तो बोल सकते हो कि यू नो इन अ 100 मीटर रेस आई रैन वेरी वेल फॉर द फर्स्ट 50 meters and then I got out of breath and I could not win it. So then you know you have a problem and how you should eradicate that problem. But आप अगर ये कहोगे कि यार मैं रेस शुरू ही नहीं कर पाया, तो फिर मतलब रेस में होना ही नहीं चाहिए था ना। So 0 to 1 is never the problem. 0 to 1 तो आपकी विजन आपको लेके जाएगी। In the first 2 to 3 years of your company, you are able to achieve less than 10% of your goals, but you have to be patient. Majority of your goals start getting achieved when you have attained that momentum. But for getting to that momentum, patience is very, very key and very, very instrumental. And getting to your first customer, be it for your product or be it for your services, will be a function of your vision and your conviction into your idea. आपका फर्स्ट कंज्यूमर तो आप खुद ही लेके आएंगे। आपकी थिंकिंग, आपकी बिलीफ, आपकी प्रोडक्ट या सर्विसेज, फर्स्ट कस्टमर तो वही लेके आएंगे। किसी भी स्टार्टअप को स्केल अप करने में चैलेंज हो सकता है, जिसके लिए स्ट्रैटेजीज होती हैं, बट स्टार्ट करने में चैलेंज नहीं हो सकता। So 0 to 1 is never the challenge. That's what I can tell you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we'll be moving to our last question, and that would be from Mr. Khalid Hassan. Khalid bhai, you can just go ahead and ask your question.
हेलो विकास सर, कैसे हैं आप?
वेरी गुड खालिद जी।
मेरा एक सवाल था जो मैं लिख रहा था, वो आधे ही टाइप हो गया, इंटर हो गया। लाइक मैं बहुत स्टार्टिंग में कॉलेज से जब निकला तो एक मोबाइल,
खालिद की आवाज काफी कम हो गई, तो आप या तो माइक हल्का ऊपर कर लें।
अभी आ रही है क्या सही?
हाँ, अब थोड़ी सही आ रही है।
तो लाइक जब मैं कॉलेज से निकला तो एक मोबाइल कंपनी,
नहीं खालिद नहीं आ रही, रुक जाओ, मैं तुम्हारे को एड्रेस भेजो, मैं तुम्हारे को प्ले का डिवाइस भेजता हूँ, आवाज अच्छी आएगी उसके बाद।
मैं कल ही एक्सप्लोर कर रहा था खरीदने के
लिए। ठीक है।
तो लाइक मैं इनिशियली मोबाइल की कंपनी में काम किया था, MVL नाम की एक कंपनी थी। तो वहाँ पे मुझे जाके रियलाइज हुआ कि लाइक जैसे स्टार्टिंग में जब माइक्रोमैक्स और सब आया, माइक्रोमैक्स का काफी नाम हुआ, तो लोग इंडियन कंपनी की तरह रिकॉग्नाइज करना शुरू कर दिया लोगों ने। बट अदरवाइज जितनी नोकिया, सैमसंग के अलावा कंपनी तो सब लोग कहते थे चाइनीज कंपनी है। तो होता ये था कि यूजुअली चाइनीज मैन्युफैक्चरर से मोबाइल्स लोग बनवाते थे, फिर इंडियन मार्केट में अपने नाम से पैकेजिंग करके उसको सेल करते थे। लाइक एक केस मैंने ऐसा देखा कि लाइक MVL का मोबाइल है और जब ऑन करते तो कार्बन लिख के आता है, तो फिर मालूम चला कि लाइक सेम मैन्युफैक्चरर से माइक्रोमैक्स भी लिख के आता होगा, प्रोबेबली कार्बन भी लाता है, लावा भी लाता है, लाइक अपने थीम के साथ, अपने थीम रिंगटोन के साथ, और प्राइसिंग ऊपर नीचे, बट अपनी मार्केटिंग की वजह से फिर वो चलती हैं। लाइक सेम वो सवाल पूछने का मतलब ये कि वापस से जब हम आते हैं वियरेबल्स पे, तो जैसे मार्केट में अभी प्ले है, बोट है, नॉइज है, तो आई थिंक और प्राइसिंग रेंज भी ऊपर नीचे होता है, बट फिर वहां से वापस जो आपने पिछले टॉक में अपने कवर किया था, लाइक मार्केटिंग, लाइक वो अपने प्रोडक्ट को सेल कैसे करते हैं। जैसे कि लाइक अगर माइक्रोमैक्स मेरा साउंड करता था पहले जब, तो मुझे लगता था कि 4 से 6-8 हज़ार के बीच में कोई मोबाइल लेना है तो लाइक सैमसंग से बेहतर है माइक्रोमैक्स, बट रेंज थोड़ा ऊपर करना है तो सैमसंग लूंगा। और ऊपर जाना है तो आईफोन लूंगा। तो लाइक एक ब्रांड पोजिशनिंग वो है ना कि लाइक इस प्राइस में कौन सा ब्रांड हमको लेना है। तो सेम आई थिंक जैसे नॉइज एंड बोट और प्ले, मतलब तीनों आई थिंक कॉम्पिटिटर एक दूसरे की,
जी
तो इस
जी
चीज को कैसे हम टेकल करते हैं?
जी। सो वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन खालिद। एंड एक्चुअली जब हमने प्ले डिजाइन लैब 3 साल पहले शुरू किया था, तो दिस वाज द बिगेस्ट थॉट प्रोसेस दैट वी हैड। सो हैविंग हैड 20 years ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस इन द इंडस्ट्री, सप्लाई चेन मेरे लिए कुछ भी नया नहीं था। तो टिपिकली अगर एक चाइना कंपनी से प्रोडक्ट खरीदना है और खरीद के लाके बेचना है, रीब्रांड करा के, वो सबसे आसान काम हो जाता है। बट वो ना ट्रेडिंग होती है, राइट? उसमें तो मैं फिर उसके बाद मेरा सारा एक्सपेंस सिर्फ और सिर्फ मार्केटिंग होनी चाहिए और कुछ नहीं होनी चाहिए, कोई R&D की जरूरत नहीं, कुछ की जरूरत नहीं है। तो प्ले का भी जो पहला डिवाइस था ना, दैट वाज वर्ल्ड, पूरे विश्व का सबसे पहला हेडफोन था जो कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस पे बेस्ड था। अभी क्या होता है, हमें बहुत सारे लोगों को ये नहीं पता होता, जैसे हमारी आंखें होती हैं, तो ऐसा होता है ना, आपकी राइट आई साइट वीक है, लेफ्ट ठीक है, या लेफ्ट ज्यादा वीक है, राइट कम वीक है। इसी तरह जो हमारे कान होते हैं, ये कान भी ना डिफरेंट फ्रीक्वेंसी पे सुनते हैं। तो बहुत बार होता है, आपने देखा होगा, कोई बुजुर्ग आदमी है तो वो एक कान में एक मशीन पहनते हैं, तो इस कान में मुझे नहीं सुनता, इस कान में सही सुनता है। जब आप मशीन नहीं भी पहनते हैं तब भी दोनों कान डिफरेंट फ्रीक्वेंसी पे सुनते हैं। हो सकता है यू माइट हियर अ लिटिल लाउडर इन दिस एंड अ लिटिल लेसर लाउड इन दिस। तो हमने जो अपना सबसे पहला हेडफोन लॉन्च किया था, उसमें AI कैलिब्रेशन होती थी। वो आपके साउंड लिसनिंग पैटर्न के हिसाब से कैलिब्रेट करता है अपने आप को कि आपको साउंड आउटपुट कहाँ पे ज्यादा देना है, कहाँ पे कम देना है। तो वो जैसे जैसे जितना आप उस हेडसेट को यूज करेंगे उतनी वो सेल्फ कैलिब्रेशन कर पाएगा। तो अंदर एल्गोरिदम बना दिया, एल्गोरिदम बनाया और देखा आपके हियरिंग पैटर्न कैसे हैं। तो हम आपको एक टेस्ट कर्व देते हैं, उस टेस्ट कर्व पे आप बताते हैं हाँ मुझे अब सुनाई दे रहा है, हाँ मुझे नहीं सुनाई दे रहा। तो वो लेफ्ट को अलग अलाइन करते हैं, राइट को अलग अलाइन करते हैं, और उसके हिसाब से AI क्या होता है, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, राइट? आपने उसको एक डेटा दे दिया, उस डेटा के हिसाब से आगे का जो भी काम होना है वो उस डेटा के हिसाब से एनालाइज करके वो आउट करता है। तो ये आपका, जैसे आप हियरिंग पैटर्न हमारे हेडसेट को दे देते हैं, वो आगे से सारा आपका ऑडियो एक्सपीरियंस उसी हिसाब से आपको देता है। नाउ फीड आपकी वही है जो किसी भी दूसरे के हेडसेट को मिल रही है, फीड वही है। मतलब वो हो सकता है आप वो गाना जो सुन रहे हैं वो Amazon म्यूजिक पे सुन रहे हो और Spotify पे सुन रहे हो, बट जो अगर आप प्ले का हेडसेट यूज करेंगे तो आपका एक्सपीरियंस डिफरेंट हो जाएगा विज एनी ऑफ द कॉम्पिटिटिव ब्रांड। अनदर केस इन पॉइंट, हमने अभी करीब 4 महीने पहले एक TWS ट्रू वायरलेस स्टीरियो करके वो जो बड्स आते हैं ना, वो लॉन्च किया है। वो पूरे विश्व में दोबारा से वो पहला TWS है जिसमें 2 ड्राइवर है, मतलब 2 स्पीकर हैं। वो छोटा सा डिवाइस होता है, उसके अंदर भी हमने 2 स्पीकर लगाए हैं। क्यों? हिंदुस्तान में जो म्यूजिक होता है ना, वो हमारा या तो बॉलीवुड म्यूजिक है या पंजाबी म्यूजिक है, जो बहुत धम 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 वाला म्यूजिक होता है। तो हमें ना, हम ट्रेडिशनली हाई बेस कंट्री है, हमारे को एक नॉर्मल कंज्यूमर को अच्छी बेस से बड़ा पसंद है। वो कोई नई गाड़ी लेता है ना, वो पीछे वो बड़े बड़े स्पीकर लगा देता है और वो शीशा फिर वाइब्रेट करता है ना, तो बड़ा अच्छा सुकून सा मिलता है, हाँ यार ये मेरा स्टीरियो अच्छा है, राइट? वो स्टीरियो अच्छा नहीं है, वो बेस अच्छी है। तो हमने अपना साउंड कर्व बनाया है जिसको हम कहते हैं ईबेल, एनहांस बेस एक्स्ट्रा लाउड। अब हिंदुस्तान में जब आप रोड पे खड़े होते हैं तो अब आपको ट्रैफिक का भी पूरा आवाज आएगा। हमारे यहाँ हॉर्न तो बिल्कुल ऐसे इस्तेमाल होता है जैसे पेट्रोल की तरह ही इस्तेमाल हो रहा है, तो हॉर्न भी खूब बजता है, आवाज बहुत होती है। तो हमारे यहाँ एम्बिएंट नॉइज बहुत होती है, जिसकी वजह से अगर डिवाइस की लाउडनेस कम है तो आपको बहुत बार सुनाई भी नहीं देगा। जैसे अभी भी आपने थोड़ा ऊपर करने की कोशिश करी तब सुनाई दिया, राइट? तो ये जो चीजें होती है ना, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया, मैं टेक्नोलॉजी प्रीचर नहीं हूं, तो मैं कोई चिपसेट नहीं लॉन्च करूंगा कभी भी, बट वो जो चिपसेट लॉन्च्ड है उससे हम आपकी कनेक्टिविटी इंप्रोवाइज कैसे करें, आपको एक्सपीरियंस कैसे बेटर दें, वो सारे काम हम करेंगे। तो अगेन ये ना बड़ी पेशेंस वाली कहानी है। अब हमारे को भी करीब प्ले को शुरू हुए करीब 2.5 साल हो गए। बहुत सारे लोग बोलते हैं सर हमने तो आपका बहुत ज्यादा नाम ही नहीं सुना। राइट? मतलब
आने वाला
हमने बोर्ड सुना है, हमने नॉइज सुना है, हमने तो यार आपका बहुत ज्यादा नाम ही नहीं सुना। मैंने कहा यार मैंने तो अभी सेल करनी शुरू भी नहीं करी है, अभी तो जो सेल हो रही है वो इंसिडेंटल हो रही है। हम कुछ बना रहे हैं, हम कंज्यूमर के पास लेके जा रहे हैं और कंज्यूमर खरीद रहा है। अभी हमारा फोकस सेल पे नहीं है, अभी तो हम प्रोडक्ट बनाने की डायरेक्शन में है। दिस इज द फर्स्ट ईयर वी विल स्टार्ट फोकसिंग ऑन एक्चुअल सेल्स। अभी तक तो मैं वहां से लाके यहाँ लाके बेच नहीं रहा हूं ना, तो मुझे वक्त चाहिए प्रोडक्ट बनाने के लिए। तो जब मैंने अभी तक अपनी प्रोडक्ट किट ही पूरी नहीं करी है तो मैं मार्केटिंग क्यों करूंगा? किस चीज की मार्केटिंग करूंगा? तो दिस इज द फर्स्ट ईयर जब आपको एक्चुअली हमारी तरफ से सेल्स पुश दिखेगा। मतलब पिछले साल हमारा रेवेन्यू कितना था? ब्रॉडली करीब 41 करोड़ था। अब वो 40 करोड़ बहुत ज्यादा भी लग सकता है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन किस आंख से देख रहे हैं आप। 40 करोड़ बहुत ज्यादा भी होता है और बहुत कम भी होता है। हमें ये लगता है बहुत कम है। जो हमारी विजन है, जो हमारा टारगेट है, उसके हिसाब से ये वाला तो रेवेन्यू वो रेवेन्यू है जो अपने आप ही हो गया। हमने कुछ खास करने की कोशिश नहीं करी है इसमें।
हाँ ठीक है, इसमें आई थिंक आपने कवर कर दिया। मुझे जैसे आपने एआई बोला तो मुझे याद है कि जब सारे मोबाइल को चाइनीज मोबाइल समझते थे हम लोग, माइक्रोमैक्स को भी इनफैक्ट, क्योंकि आप जामिया से हैं तो आपको हम लोग जानते थे, तो हमें मालूम था ये चाइनीज कंपनी नहीं इंडियन कंपनी है। बट ज़्यादातर लोगों को ऐसे लगता था चाइनीज। बट लाइक एक 2012 में आपका मॉडल आया था आइसा, आइसा इंट्रोड्यूस करा था आप लोगों ने और एप्पल से कंपेयर किया था 4000 के फोन को आई थिंक। तो वो मार्केट में एक बहुत तगड़ी वैसे ब्रांडिंग हुई थी तब। मतलब बाकी चाइनीज कंपनी से अलग निकल के लगा कि माइक्रोमैक्स अब नोकिया, सैमसंग, एप्पल के बाद जो है चौथा इंडिया में कोई ब्रांड है तो वो माइक्रोमैक्स है अब। मतलब चाइनीज कैटेगरी से सिर्फ आई थिंक जो मैं देखता हूँ सिर्फ उस एक प्रोडक्ट से चाइनीज कैटेगरी से बाहर मैं करता हूँ माइक्रोमैक्स को। ये कुछ इनोवेट किया इन्होंने।
एक एंटरप्रेन्योरियल जर्नी में ना आपके पास ऐसी बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज आती हैं। आपको उस अपॉर्चुनिटी को अपने माइंडसेट में सोचना और उसके साथ अलाइन करना। अपॉर्चुनिटी अपने आप नहीं आएगी, आप कुछ करेंगे तब वो अपॉर्चुनिटी बनेगी। अगर हमने आयशा के ऊपर काम नहीं किया होता तो सिरी जानते थे सारे, आयशा तो कोई जानता ही नहीं था, राइट? बट वो हमने पहले काम किया। जब आपने सुनना शुरू किया तब तक तो हमने इंटीग्रेट करके उसका कैंपेन किया था, राइट? तो अपॉर्चुनिटी आपको बनानी पड़ेगी। बट एक एंटरप्रेन्योरियल जर्नी में आपको हमेशा अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिलेंगी। आपको वो टाइम मिलेगा जहां पे वो एक अपॉर्चुनिटी अपने लिए क्रिएट कर सकते हैं आप। बट पेशेंस बहुत चाहिए होती है एक एंटरप्रेन्योर जर्नी में।
Obviously, patience is one of the keys of this journey, parts and parcel. Okay, so I think we have खाली भाई आपका क्वेश्चन आंसर हो गया है प्रॉपर।
बस अब काफी अब समराइज कर सकते हैं आप।
Okay, Ron, you have another question also? Okay, well, it is the Canvas laptop. I think this is for sir. Sir, why have you discontinued Canvas laptop?
So that's also a very interesting question. जब हमने लैपटॉप निकाले थे तो हमने इंटेल के साथ पार्टनरशिप करी थी, हमने माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के साथ पार्टनरशिप करी थी। इनफैक्ट it was basically on our very big push to Microsoft that Microsoft ने वो ऑनलाइन एडिशन और $15 का माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ऑफिस इंडिया में लॉन्च किया था। So if you go back on the internet, you will be able to see जो licensed Microsoft Office $15 का शुरू हुआ था, that was started with the launch of Micromax laptops. तो हमने उन्हें समझाया कि यार अगेन इतना बड़ा टाइम है, बट हमारे यहाँ सबके पास पैसे ना लिमिटेड होते हैं हर चीज पर डालने के लिए। तो ऐसा नहीं है कोई आपका सॉफ्टवेयर पायरेटेड यूज करना चाहता है, बट आपने इतना सारा उसका प्राइस रख दिया है तो आपका सॉफ्टवेयर पायरेटेड इसलिए हो रहा है। अगर आप उसकी एक जेन्युइन सी प्राइसिंग रखेंगे, आप मेरे से चाहे हर साल पैसे ले लीजिए उसके, बट अगर आप मुझे बोलेंगे माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ऑफिस खरीदने के लिए मुझे 25,000 रुपए देने हैं तो मैं पायरेटेड ही यूज करूंगा एज अ कंज्यूमर। तो दैट वाज द टाइम when Microsoft actually understood. They also, after our feedback, they did their market research and all that stuff, and they found out this was actually true. and lot of consumer. In fact, abhi the total piracy on Microsoft product has gone down substantially and tremendously. And आपने देखा होगा अभी एटलीस्ट एंड्रॉइड फोन्स के ऊपर तो माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ऑफिस लॉन्च कर दिया है, पैसे भी नहीं लेते हैं, यू कैन यूज इट. So I think this was all a function of when we had these, management meetings between the companies. तो Intel ने भी काफी support किया, Microsoft ने भी काफी support किया. But अभी see the thing is that today आप सब जो जानते हैं Micromax को आप पहले कंपनी से जानते हैं और लैपटॉप या टेलीविजन सेकंड या थर्ड प्रोडक्ट है Micromax का. तो I think it is time for us to regroup and rethink and work our way back into the mobile phone business before we can put our energies into the allied business of laptops and televisions also. तो थोड़ा सा और हमारे साथ पेशेंस रखिए. There is something interesting working on the laptops also. लेके आएंगे. अगेन आइडिया और इंटेंट बहुत सिंपल है. एज अ कंज्यूमर मैं आपको कुछ डिफरेंशिएटेड दे पाना चाहिए. अगर आपको वही सेम चीज एक डेल या एक HP या कॉम्पैक्ट किसी के साथ भी मिल सकती है और माइक्रोमैक्स भी वही ले आता है, तो आई डोंट थिंक मैंने आप किसी के लिए भी कुछ भी अच्छा काम किया है. वो तो आप उनका भी खरीद सकते हो. मैं आपको कभी ये नहीं कहने वाला हूं कि मैं हिंदुस्तानी हूं इसलिए मुझे आप मेरा प्रोडक्ट खरीदिए. आप कंज्यूमर हैं, कंज्यूमर के पास वो बहुत राइट है कि जो सबसे बढ़िया चीज सबसे सस्ती होगी वो वही खरीदेगा. अब उसके लिए हो सकता है कोई कंपनी लॉस में बेचती हो, कोई कंपनी प्रॉफिट में बेचती हो, कोई कंपनी US की हो, कोई कंपनी चाइना की हो या कोई कंपनी इंडिया की हो. कंज्यूमर के पास वो राइट है, वो सब चीजें देख के सिलेक्शन कर सकता है. एट बेस्ट एज अ कंज्यूमर आप मेरे को सिर्फ इतना ही प्यार दे सकते हैं कि यार अगर हमारा प्रोडक्ट और किसी और ब्रांड का प्रोडक्ट नियर अबाउट सिमिलर हैं और नियर अबाउट सेम प्राइसिंग के अंदर हैं तो आप मेरे प्रोडक्ट को खरीद लेंगे. आई थिंक मैं एज अ कंज्यूमर आप सबसे इससे ज्यादा एक्सपेक्टेशन अगर रखूंगा तो वो मेरे लिए भी गलत है. तो स्ट्रैटेजी तो मुझे ही बनानी है और वो स्ट्रैटेजी के अंदर कंज्यूमर का फायदा हो ये भी हमें देखना है. जो सब कर रहे हैं वही अगर मैं करूंगा तो nothing great that we are doing in a 1.4 billion population. I continue to believe in this.
Thank you, and we are very happy to know that we are very excited now that you are going to launch something for us. Just a small question. कोई डिस्काउंट मिलने वाला है जामिया वालों को उसपे जैसे 10%?
हम पूरा का पूरा एक सेल्स कैंप लगा देंगे जामिया के अंदर.
Thank you so much. Okay. So now I'll just like to wrap up this session. So at the outset, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for taking out time from your schedule and coming to us, joining us. And second thing, which is for our audience. Okay, so there are some technical glitch, no problem. Okay. And second thing, which how sir has also mentioned that how sir's feedback helped Microsoft get a good market. So please fill the feedback over here. At last, I'll just request all of you to please kind of turn on your camera so that we can have very nice picture. It is an online session, so that is what we can do maximum. Turn on the camera, we can have a screenshot and do it nicely. So all of you please turn on the camera, and Lara, you can take the screenshot, please. Okay, let's let there are people still turning on the camera. So allow all of us to just turn on the cameras and then take a nice screenshot. Everyone wants to be in this picture. Okay, Lara, you can just take the screenshot and then let us know if it is done. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, sir, for joining us for this session. And this 1 hour and 30 minutes has been really great talking to you. We did not actually even get to know that this much of time has passed. A lot of insights have been shared, and we are very happy to see that you're growing. Jamia is growing at such a high rate, and we are very happy to know also that this play is all now even growing at pace, which is very good for us. And we are excited, actually, all of us are excited to know that you're coming with something new and how much you care about the consumer and how you're planning to bring out something new. We are definitely sure that Micromax will at least be the company which will counter the Chinese market and be the leaders. Because I remember there was a time, I think in 2012 or 13, when Micromax was the second best or the first brand in the terms of sales. Like you guys are making a lot of sales and you guys are on that number. So we believe in you, and thank you so much for coming to the session and giving your time, and it was really great.
Thank you, Vikas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your patience, keeping up with me. I hope was able to give some clarity for your future entrepreneurial journey, and I really wish you all the very best. And it's very exciting to be an entrepreneur. With that note, I would like to end this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And just a last thing. As we are Jamia, so we obviously are excited to connect with you. So how can we connect with you after this session? Is it through LinkedIn or is there some mail idea?
LinkedIn is good, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you for joining this session. Thank you so much.